Chapter 952. I need a profound practitioner's soul. Zhou Xian rested his chin on his hand as he lazily leaned back on the soft chair. I have heard of the legend of needing a cultivator's soul. Everyone immediately congealed their senses and looked curiously at Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian deliberately whetted his appetite. Only when everyone's curiosity was piqued did he slowly say, I heard that there is a forbidden art that can remove all seals in the world by using the souls of 9,999 young profound practitioners. Seal? Yiqing Luo frowned. Could it be that the people from the dark forces were constantly searching for the souls of profound practitioners in order to undo the seal? Also, Zhou Xian suddenly paused and curled up a lock of hair on Yiqing Luo's shoulder as his voice gradually deepened. I've heard from the imperial palace that there was a great war 1,000 years ago. The emperor of the gods from the upper realm expelled the dark forces from the nirvana realm and sealed the king of darkness in the darkness forever. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly stiffened. She stared into Zhou Xian's eyes and asked in a daze, King of Darkness? Is the Lord of the Dark Forces? Zhou Xian raised his brows and nodded slightly. If I didn't guess wrongly, this so-called Lord should be the King of Darkness. If the leader of the Dark Forces was the King of Darkness, he connected it to the Great War 1,000 years ago. That would explain everything. 9,999 profound practitioner souls, all for the sake of unsealing the King of Darkness. 1,000 years ago, only the divine emperors of the upper realm could expel them. Could be seen how powerful the dark forces were. We absolutely cannot let the King of Darkness seal be lifted. Yiqing Luo's brows were tightly knitted together. If the King of Darkness seal was removed, the dark forces would once again wreak havoc in the nirvana world. The people from the upper realm could come down to the ordinary world to save them once. But that didn't mean he could save them a second time or a third time. Then, what should we do? The mercenaries looked at each other, not confident in themselves. After fighting with the people from the dark forces in the tomb of the Ling King, they could deeply feel the gap between them and the people from the dark forces. If not for Chi-Chi and the blue dragon's appearance, he was afraid that they would not be able to stand here alive. Stopping the King of Darkness from breaking the seal was easier said than done. The first step we need to take is to eliminate the King of Darkness and gather new profound practitioner souls. He had no idea how long the Dean had been working with the people from the dark forces. There was no way of knowing how many souls had gathered. Duju. It was easier said than done. The academy was the Dean's power. But they were students of the devil class and were unable to get close to the other students to investigate the situation. Furthermore, the World Mercenary Group's reputation had already spread far and wide. If they were recognized in the academy, they would definitely be killed. The secret of the devil class would also be exposed. Yiqing Luo muttered to herself for a moment and said calmly, Get a copy of the background information of all the students in Heavenly Academy from Tao Zi and send it to me. Her gaze landed on Xiao Jin. Just as he was about to open his mouth and hand over the mission to him, suddenly he thought of something and closed his eyes. I'll go by myself later. Between Xiao Jin and Peach, it would be best to have as little contact as possible. Right now the poison in Xiao Yi's body could not be controlled. Xiao Jin was a little confused, but he did not stupidly ask why. Chapter 953. The headquarters of the dark forces were not in the Nirvana realm. Protector Snake did not know where it was. This was because every time they came to the Nirvana realm from the headquarters or returned from the Nirvana realm, they would be transported back and forth through the forbidden blood summoning. The dark forces were also very large, with a total of more than 30,000 people. Moreover, every one of them had a high profound rank and they were all good at using forbidden techniques. The dark forces were also divided into different levels according to their abilities. Those with decent aptitude could join the Darkness Hall and become protectors or elders. Protectors were people who specialized in cultivating Xianxia and raising their Xian grades. In modern terms, they were similar to warriors. The elders, on the other hand, specialized in all kinds of forbidden techniques. Similar to mages, they could both attack and support. Every protector and elder was named after an animal. For example, Guardian Ing, Elder Xiong and Guardian Snake. Moreover, there was no limit to the number of guardian elders. As long as one's ability reached the required level and passed the test of the Darkness Hall, they would be able to obtain the Dark Hall's Guardian Elder medal. Wearing this emblem, In the dark forces, they would be loved and supported by ordinary people who couldn't pass the test of the Dark Hall. Above the Guardian Party and the Elder Party, below the Lord, which was also below the King of Darkness, they were the strongest group of four chosen from the Law Protector Party. They were collectively known as the Four Great Saint Techniques. The four strongest members of the Elders Association were collectively known as the Four Great Saintesses. Seeing that everyone had more or less understood, Yiqing Luo asked everyone to have a good rest as they had to return to the academy tomorrow. Not only the directors matter, but also the bet which Yiqing Luo and Shangguan Liuli had set. For Yiqing Luo's sake, the brothers must recuperate well and train hard, striving to get first place in the inter-class competition. Zhao Bo and the others couldn't interfere in the affairs of the academy, so they found an excuse to leave with their brothers. Mo Hanshang seemed to have thought of something as he called out to Zhao Bo. When you and Lianqing went to the Mercenary Association, did the Blood Fiend Mercenary Group and Invincible Mercenary Group return? Zhao Bo stopped in his tracks, shook his head and immediately told him the data he had gathered. Currently, the mercenary groups that have completed their missions have a large number of low-level missions. However, only 153 mercenary groups had completed the intermediate and high-level missions. There are 30 high-level missions. Blood Demon Group and Invincible Group are not among the mercenary groups that completed high-level missions. Mo Hanshang's handsome face instantly revealed a smile as his clear eyes gazed towards Yiqing Luo excitedly. This challenge the World Group has won. This challenge would definitely belong to Yiqing Luo. It was impossible for the Blood Demon Group and Invincible to complete the advanced rare quest. Furthermore, it's still a problem if these two groups will be able to return. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched, revealing a cold arc of ridicule. What do you mean? Mo Hanshang asked puzzledly. A cold intent flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. Returning means that these two groups have already become the Dark Forces' tools. If they don't return, it means that these two regiments have already. He had been completely devoured by the Dark Forces. The Blood Demon Group and the Invincible Group must have made some sort of deal with Shangguan Liuli, which was why they had been targeting them ever since. Of course, they would borrow the power of the underworld to complete the high-level rare mission. Once it was done, it would be dead or alive. Chapter 954. Mo Hanshang's delicate brows creased slightly as he propped his chin, as though he was pondering over something. After some time he suddenly stood up. This matter is not a small matter. Blood Demon Group and Invincible battles are after all mercenary groups from the Mercenary Association. Our Mercenary Association must take responsibility for this. He had to inform his father about this matter as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo didn't stop him. As the young patriarch of the Mercenary Association, there were many times when Mo Hanshang had to stand on the Mercenary Association's standpoint to look at everything. The crowd discussed for a while more before Yiqing Luo asked everyone to go back to recuperate. Before they left, Yiqing Luo took a look at the empty seat beside her as she sighed softly. Following that, she held on to Zhou Xian's arm and left the meeting hall. Long Yunzhan, that fellow. He didn't even attend the World Group's meeting. He wanted to hide from everyone, but until when? Earlier in the meeting hall, although the mercenaries didn't mention a single word about Long Yunzhan. But she could still clearly see the gazes which the crowd shot towards the position beside her. Actually, no one blamed him. Only Long Yunzhan himself couldn't walk out. Yiqing Luo sighed. If Long Yunzhan didn't want to appear, even if it was her, she probably wouldn't be able to find him. Thinking of that dragon? Her ear suddenly felt warm. The man's lips had unknowingly stuck onto her earlobe. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled as her cheeks blushed red as she pushed his chest away. She subconsciously looked around. Our brothers are still around, don't touch me. I'm touching my mouth. Zhou Xian suppressed his voice as he gave an evil smile. Moreover, the relationship between us isn't a secret. Even if our brothers see it, that would be showing off our happiness to them. Preposterous logic. Yiqing Luo's face flushed red as she raised her eyes and stared at him resentfully as she raised her little hand to slap his mouth. Stop fooling around, there are still many things to do. That dragon is a male dragon. Zhou Xian caught her little hand on his thin lips, and when he spoke, not knowing if it was intentional or not, the tip of his tongue stuck out as it licked her palm. Yiqing Luo felt ticklish and wanted to retract her hand. However, her small hand was held tightly by his big palm. Yiqing Luo was so ashamed that she couldn't be bothered to struggle as she stared at him furiously. What nonsense are you thinking about? Ajan and I are just friends. You treat him as a friend, but he might not necessarily treat you as a friend. Zhou Xian's grip tightened, his long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly as a glint flashed past. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned as her slender brows creased slightly. What do you mean? What did Long Yunzhan not treat her as a friend? If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't treat her as a friend, Long Yunzhan might have been controlled by the mysterious Yin Qi to the point where he couldn't wake up. Along the way, she and Long Yunzhan also had a revolutionary spirit. Staring at Yiqing Luo's charming eyes for some time, the man retracted his gaze helplessly. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to ask further, Zhou Xian's large palm covered her head. His broad palms covered her bangs and covered her eyes. Stay here and rest. I'll look for him for you. Without waiting for Yiqing Luo to speak, the warm palm had already left her forehead. When she opened her eyes, Zhou Xian's figure was nowhere to be seen. Only his unique sandalwood scent lingered in the air as it seeped into her nostrils. On her forehead, there seemed to be remnants of his warmth. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she retracted her gaze. This man. What on earth was he thinking all day long? Why did it feel as though he was jealous of Long Yunzhan? Chapter 955. After Yiqing Luo left the meeting hall, she didn't return to her room to rest. Instead, she went to God Thief's courtyard. She had just reached the entrance of God Thief's courtyard when she heard a clamorous noise coming from inside, as though they were arguing about something. Yiqing Luo creased her slender brows in puzzlement. Although God Thief was a little unreliable, but no matter what, his temper was very good. Who was he arguing with? Yiqing Luo walked into the courtyard and neared God Thief's room door. That door suddenly creaked open and a man wrapped in a white robe fell out from the room. Coincidentally, he knocked onto Yiqing Luo. Ouch, ouch, ouch. The person who bumped into her cried out a few times in pain. Why does it sound so familiar? Young lady, why are you here? God Thief's voice was heard from the room. Following that, she saw God Thief, who was dressed in a nouveau riche, jumping out from the room. On seeing that man dressed in a white robe, when he knocked onto Yiqing Luo, a sliver of astonishment flashed past his eyes. Yiqing Luo didn't manage to catch this slight astonishment. On a closer look, God Thief's expression was no different from usual. He directly stretched out his hand and grabbed hold of that man who knocked onto Yiqing Luo, not forgetting to smile at her. Young lady, wait a minute, I'll talk to you after I settle this old man. Saying that, he dragged that man as he walked into the room. That golden and dazzling wide-sleeve robe which was embroidered with gold ingots covered that white-robed man's face. Yiqing Luo stared at their backs as they walked into the room, and the more she looked, the more familiar she felt. She walked up in quick steps and stretched out her hand to grab hold of that man. Wait a minute. With this tug, that man's face was completely revealed in front of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was first stunned as she cried out in shock. Ghost Doctor Master? This man was actually Ghost Doctor? Why was he here? Furthermore, and he seemed to be especially familiar with God Thief? Why are you here? Yiqing Luo's curious gaze wavered between Ghost Doctor and God Thief. Ghost Doctor scratched God Thief's messy hair and tidied up his clothes as he coughed a few times. Why am I here? Cough you ask him. Saying that, he shifted his gaze towards God Thief. Holy Pirate, who had been called out, broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing Yiqing Luo's gaze really following closely behind, God Thief wiped his forehead. He's here. Because he's the Ghost Doctor. I'm asking him to help Xiao Yi detoxify the poison, and we're talking about the remuneration. He suddenly clapped his hands and said, yes, we were discussing the matter of payment, but he didn't agree to cure Xiao Yi. Little girl, you came just in time. God Thief stretched out his hand and directly held onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder, bringing her towards Ghost Doctor's side. You call him master, right? This is your master. You should persuade him to cure Xiao Yi's poison. Ghost Doctor's face was cold. His malicious eyes glared at Holy Pirate. But when he saw Yiqing Luo walking closer to him, he could only temporarily restrain the ruthlessness in his eyes. Little girl Luo, Master Ghost Doctor, I indeed wanted to look for you. When Yiqing Luo saw Ghost Doctor, her mind was filled with Xiao Yi could be saved. She was not in the mood to care about the ghost doctor atmosphere between Holy Thief and the ghost doctor. He was not in the mood to expose the lame excuse that the god thief thought of. Although she hadn't interacted with Ghost Doctor for a long time, but Yiqing Luo was still very clear. Ghost Doctor was totally not interested in the things within the remuneration. Between them they should be old friends. Yiqing Luo didn't think in detail as she hooked onto Ghost Doctor's arm. My brother has been poisoned by the purple poppy grass. I don't have the purple millet grass on me and her body. Chapter 956. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. I know. The poison in her body, I can't cure it. Ghost Doctor frowned slightly, revealing some impatience. I don't have that antidote. What poison is she suffering from? Even Ghost Doctor didn't have that antidote? Other than refining medicine, the Ghost Doctor didn't have the slightest bit of interest in anything else. By right, Ghost Doctor should have all kinds of medicinal herbs on him. How could there be any medicinal herbs that he didn't have? Ghost Doctor lifted his eyelids, looking at Yiqing Luo's pale face. He calmly spat out 5 words. Darkness 3 evil flower. Darkness 3 evil flower? Yiqing Luo's body stiffened. What Shangguan Liuli said was indeed right. In Yan Xiaoyi's body, it wasn't just the purple poppy grass's poison. There was also the Dark Force's special medicinal powder. Darkness 3 evil flower antidote. What is it? Yiqing Luo's lips were dry as she opened her mouth with great difficulty, asking. He had never heard of this poison. But from Ghost Doctor's expression she knew that this poison wasn't easy to cure. Moreover, the antidote for Darkness 3 evil flowers poison. Could it only be found on the Dark Force's side? So Ghost Doctor didn't have this antidote on him. Darkness and light are antagonistic, so the antidote for Darkness 3 evil flower must be refined using the light spirit immortal grass, together with other light medicinal herbs. Towards Yiqing Luo's mention of medicinal herbs, Ghost Doctor explained very clearly. But the light spirit immortal grass can't be bought in any large medicine shops. There are only 2 stalks of light spirit immortal grass left in Nirvana realm, and they are in the Alchemist Guild. Alchemist Guild? Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. Alchemist Guild? Perhaps. She fished out a token and passed it to Ghost Doctor. I have the Alchemist Guild's pass. Can I see the Alchemist Guild's chief? If it was the Alchemist Guild, there might be a sliver of hope. Mu Zifan was the Alchemist Guild's young chief. You in the Alchemist Guild? The Ghost Doctor furrowed her white brows and stared at the token for a long time, then hid the deep meaning in her eyes. If you can obtain the light spirit immortal herb, I'll help you refine the antidote for the Darkness 3 demon flower. Yiqing Luo didn't ponder over Ghost Doctor's reaction. She rushed up and gave the Ghost Doctor a big hug, smiling like a flower. Sure Fu, thank you. The Ghost Doctor's tightly knitted white brows deepened. His stiff body was obviously not used to someone being so close to him. But when his malicious gaze swept past the smile on Yiqing Luo's face, his body stiffened, allowing Yiqing Luo to hug him. She acted coquettishly and acted cute, praising the Ghost Doctor to the skies. Only then did she wave her handkerchief and quickly leave to find Mu Zifei and inquire about Mu Zifan's whereabouts. Staring at Yiqing Luo's departing back view, Ghost Doctor was still maintaining the bear hug position as he stood frozen on the spot. What are you looking at? After being hugged by my little student, did your soul leave your body? Holy Pirate coldly glanced at him. He put on a fake smile and mocked him. Ghost Doctor stiffly moved his body as he turned his head and glanced coldly at Holy Pirate as he scoffed. Las Luo is very smart. You'd better think of how to explain to her the reason why I'm here. Isn't it because of Xiao Yi, that child, that I casually grabbed the #1 Ghost Doctor to detoxify? Holy Pirate replied sloppily as he touched his shiny hair as he walked into the house. In future, don't look for me if there's nothing. Ghost Doctor stood at the door as his white brows creased tightly as his expression sunk. Holy Pirate didn't force him to stay as he waved his hand. If I knew that Lass's words were so useful, I wouldn't have looked for you. Chapter 957. Pristine Elixir Medicine Hall. Cabinet bedroom. A red figure flew over like a gust of wind. The patrolling guards didn't have time to react before they saw the red figure directly rush into the bedroom. Zifei. A clear and sweet voice sounded. The figure stood still in the bedroom and looked around. Finally, her gaze fell on the youngster in the middle of the room. A pair of bright eyes flashed a trace of astonishment. "Qing Luo, what's wrong?" The youngster raised his head and saw her appearance. His lips slightly hooked, revealing a smile. Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. Mu Zifei was currently supporting himself with one hand on the table. There was an account book and ink on the table. His slender fingers were holding a page of the account book. An old man dressed in a doctor's robe was standing behind him, bandaging his wound. Most importantly, Mu Zifei's upper body was completely naked. Tight muscles, smooth lines. It was the body of a healthy youngster. The injury isn't serious. Qing Luo slowly walked over and stared at the scarlet wound on his back. There were several places where the skin was cut by a sharp weapon, and the bone was visible. Qing Luo saw the wound and her slender brows immediately knitted into a ball. "It's nothing." Mu Zifei shook his head, put down the account book and waved his hand. The doctor tied the bandages, covered his back with his coat and retreated. He stood up, his long robe falling down like a waterfall. He didn't tighten his pocket, revealing his chest muscles. However, Qing Luo's expression didn't change as she stared straight at him. "I'm sorry." Under her gaze, Mu Zifei instead felt shy. He raised his arm and wrapped his coat tightly when he heard her apology. Mu Zifei's hand paused. "What apology? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been injured." When Mu Zifei heard this, he chuckled. He quickly fastened his belt and shook his head. "How can I blame you? Joining a mercenary group and going on a mercenary group mission is in itself a dangerous thing. I'm a man, encountering a bit of danger is a chance for me to grow. Why are you apologizing?" Mu Zifei waved his hand indifferently. Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. I will protect you in the future." Mu Zifan handed her over to him. She came back with such a heavy injury on her first mission. She was ashamed of Mu Zifan's trust and the Mu brothers' gentleness. "Qing Luo." Mu Zifei suddenly raised his arm and placed it on her shoulders, frowning. "How can a man like me let a little girl protect him? Don't feel guilty towards me. I know better than you what a mercenary group is. Since I've chosen to join, I've joined with the intention to become stronger and grow. People in the underworld would always encounter accidents. Why are you looking for me? Why are you in such a hurry?" Seeing that Qing Luo was still looking down, Mu Zifei could only change the topic. "Qing Luo, Mu Ziluo's god. You're looking for my brother?" Mu Zifei raised his eyebrows in curiosity. Qing Luo nodded. "I want to ask him, what are the conditions to obtain the Light Spirit Immortal Grass from the Alchemist Guild?" "Light Spirit Immortal Grass?" Mu Zifei muttered and repeated. "What do you want the Spirit Immortal Grass for?" "The poison in Jie Xiaoyi's body." Qing Luo didn't hide anything. "The poison in Xiaoyi's body has already started to spread and I urgently need the Light Spirit Immortal Grass. Can you bring me to look for Zifan?" Chapter 958. What? Qing Luo immediately perked up as she looked at Mu Zifei. He smiled. "Have you forgotten what I mentioned to you on the day of the holidays?" "Mentioned on the day of the holidays?" Qing Luo thought for a moment. "You're talking about the alchemist competition?" "Yes." Mu Zifei's thin lips rose as he raised his brows. "Aren't you going to take part in the alchemist competition? If you're able to stand out in the competition and win the championship, you'll be able to get quite a number of rare medicinal herbs and the Light Spirit Immortal Grass is one of the prizes." Qing Luo's eyes lit up. "Is what you said true? Why would I lie to you? I know you're going to take part in the alchemist competition, so I specially asked around for you. The prize for winning the championship this time is indeed a Light Spirit Immortal Grass." Mu Zifei's words ignited Qing Luo's hope. Originally, she thought she had to make a deal with the Alchemist Guild's chief before she could exchange for the Light Spirit Immortal Grass. If she could get the Light Spirit Immortal Grass by winning the championship, she absolutely had to go all out. If it was said that the reason why she agreed to the alchemist competition was because of the Mu brothers' invitation, she didn't want to brush them off, so she agreed to it. Then her motive was even clearer now. "Which day is the alchemist competition set for?" Qing Luo asked anxiously. The poison in Yan Xiaoyi's body couldn't wait for too long. "It's 5 days later and the competition duration is 2 days. Mu Zifei replied. 5 days later. 2 days of competition. Which was 7 days. 7 days. Yan Xiaoyi probably couldn't wait. Mu Zifei saw through Yiqing Luo's worries. Later my brother will make a trip to the old residence to help suppress the poison in Xiaoyi's body, and she will definitely be able to last till you win the championship. Thank you. Yiqing Luo looked at him gratefully. It seemed that ever since she got to know the Mu brothers, it had always been the Mu brothers who helped her. She owed this pair of brothers more and more. You're the most seriously injured today. Quickly go back to the old residence to rest. Tomorrow you have to go to the academy. Mu Zifei comforted her with a smile. Are the world groups battle today? I'm afraid our name will spread throughout the entire West continent and even Nirvana realm. Tomorrow when we go to the academy we probably won't be in peace. Yiqing Luo could imagine. The fact that she possessed the blue dragon and the white tiger, as well as the divine artifacts that all the forces wanted, must have spread, along with the news that the dark forces had invaded the Nirvana realm. Indeed, there was no peace for her. However, this was the path she had chosen for herself. Even if there was no peace, she had to continue down this path. At the very least, the other powerhouses would have to reconsider if they wanted to deal with the world group. When he returned to the old house, he found that the youths were all extremely quiet. Yiqing Luo felt strange as she followed the crowd's weird gaze and walked step by step to the front hall. 20 over youths were surrounding one person while Zhou Xian stood by the side with his arms crossed over his chest. Hearing someone call out "Vice Captain," the 20 or so people immediately dispersed. A tall figure came into Yiqing Luo's sight. That pair of azure blue eyes stared blankly at Yiqing Luo for some time, and after regaining his senses, his eyes immediately shifted away unnaturally. It was Long Yunzhan. He was forcefully brought back by Zhou Xian. He didn't dare to look her in the eye. Was he still feeling guilty? Yiqing Luo lifted her feet and walked towards Long Yunzhan. She could clearly hear those 20 over youngsters beside her drawing in cold breaths. They were worried that she would blame Long Yunzhan because of this? That was true. Chapter 959. Yiqing Luo walked to the front of Long Yunzhan as she slowly raised her head. He still didn't dare to meet her eyes. Yiqing Luo didn't force him. The one whose emotions were the most messed up should be him. The one who was under the most pressure was also him. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly as she stretched out her hand to hold his arm. "Ah Zhan, it's good that you're back." Her voice was gentle with a tinge of relief. It was good that he was back. None of them would blame him. If he really felt guilty, then stay by everyone's side and accompany them. This was the real way to make it up to everyone. Long Yunzhan's eyes flickered slightly. Following that, his gaze slowly met with Yiqing Luo as though he was slightly astonished. Yiqing Luo smiled as she let go of Long Yunzhan's arm. As usual, she smiled and said, all right, disperse, disperse." Following that, she patted Long Yunzhan's arm. "Xiaoyi is in her room, she should be awake by now." Saying that, Yiqing Luo walked towards Zhou Xian, and together with him, they walked towards the direction of their own courtyard. Long Yunzhan was willing to come back, willing to appear in front of the brothers. That was enough. Now it was time for him to ponder on his own, or to face Yan Xiaoyi alone. The next day, early in the morning, the youngsters in the old mansion had mostly dispersed. All of them had already left for the academy. Yiqing Luo didn't accompany anyone as she swaggered towards the academy's main entrance alone. As expected, the minute she appeared, she instantly became everyone's focus. Everyone's gazes were glued onto Yiqing Luo. Their discussions were all about those rumors which they heard yesterday, as they tried to guess the authenticity of the rumors. Perhaps it was the deterrent effect of the rumors. Although they were discussing, no one dared to step forward to ask. When Yiqing Luo neared, they subconsciously opened up a path. When she passed by the courtyard's entrance, the masters who were in charge of maintaining order stopped on her for a while longer. "Qing Luo." A clear voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps and turned back to see Lu Xiaoyu, who was carrying bags of all sizes, and her hands were hooked onto 3 parcels, stumbling as she jogged towards her. As she neared, Yiqing Luo could smell the aroma of pastries and meals. This little glutton. Why did he bring so many things to the academy after the holidays? Was he afraid that he would starve to death? Yiqing Luo helplessly face-palmed and walked towards Lu Xiaoyu. He took down the 4 bags hanging from her neck and held them in his hands. There's a canteen in the academy. You can just bring some snacks from home to the academy. Why bring so many things? My mother's culinary skills are very good. I want to bring it for you to have a taste. Lu Xiaoyu smiled coquettishly as she rubbed her face on Yi Qingluo's shoulder, acting coquettishly. Yi Qingluo smiled lightly. I can go over to your place to have a taste during the next holiday. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Lu Xiaoyu's dark eyes were sparkling. She tilted her head and looked at her. During the holidays, you have to do the mercenary group's missions. At the mention of the mercenary group, Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. Qingluo, I've heard about it. The world group that you've established is really amazing. As soon as he said that, the surrounding students who were staring at the two of them all perked up their ears. No one dared to ask about the truth of the rumor. Since someone dared to mention it, they instantly raised their attention by 120%. If you want to, you can join anytime. Yi Qingluo rubbed her hair as the two of them walked towards the academy. A female student rushed forward as though they were very familiar with each other, stretching out her hand in an attempt to hold on to Yi Qingluo's arm. Student Yi, we brought quite a number of little toys from home and it's rather rare. Do you want to come over and take a look? Who are you? Yi Qingluo frowned as she avoided his outstretched hand. The female student did not feel awkward at all. I am a student from the Intermediate Profound Class 1, and also one of the 3 biggest jade shops in Three Springs City, the Yu family's 3rd little brat. Before he could finish his words, Yi Qingluo raised her hand to stop him. I'm not interested to know who you are, move aside. Student Yi, we are all members of your loyal escort group. We worship you very much. That's right, that's right. Student Yi, Goddess Yi. Various kinds of flattering voices made Yi Qingluo's brows crease tightly. He thought it was because of the power of the rumor. Yesterday he was still worried that it wouldn't happen. He had not expected. He was quiet all the way back to the academy. When he returned to the dormitory, he was pestered instead. Chapter 961. The moment this voice was heard, the entire dormitory fell into silence. Those 5 female students instantly turned their heads and shouted respectfully towards the door. Vice President. They saw Lu Shuiyu standing at the door with a frosty expression. That icy cold face was expressionless, as though there wasn't any emotion on it. Her icy cold gaze stared at Yi Qingluo as she scoffed. You still know that I'm your vice president? The female student's body trembled as she lowered her head. You're here in the academy to learn and to become stronger, not to climb up the social ladder trying to please this and that. Lu Shuiyu's tone couldn't conceal the disgust. Of course, the target of this disgust was only Yi Qingluo alone. Lu Xiaoyu rushed up as she placed her hands on her waist and stood in front of Lu Shuiyu as she gave a light harumph. You make it sound as though you didn't intentionally try to please anyone or flatter anyone. I have a clear conscience. Lu Shuiyu looked at Yi Qingluo in disdain. I'm not as hypocritical as some people, just having a little bit of good luck and you insist on making it known to everyone, making everyone flatter her. The some people in her words who she was referring to was too obvious. Lu Xiaoyu was so angry that her face flushed red as she fiercely spat at her. Don't say that you didn't intentionally try to please the president, you didn't flatter the president. An elder Yun Xiang sighed. I've seen quite a number of you trying to please them. Lu Shuiyu's throat choked as her face flushed red, not being able to say a single word of rebuttal. But Lu Xiaoyu persisted in her infuriating character as she stuck out her tongue and continued. Don't make it sound as though everyone is the same as you, loving to be flattered. My Qingluo likes peace and quiet the most. My Qingluo doesn't like these people who pester her. Following that, she imitated Lu Shuiyu's earlier tone as she sneered. My Qingluo isn't like some people, putting on the vice president's airs all the time, as though afraid that the other students don't know that someone is the vice president. Bu Xiaoyu. Lu Shuiyu was so angry that her face, which had always been frozen, suddenly cracked. But in a blink of an eye, Lu Shuiyu was already right in front of Lu Xiaoyu as she raised her hand and gave a tight slap towards Lu Xiaoyu's face. You've been poked in your sore spot and now you're desperate? A slender jade-like hand grasped Lu Shuiyu's wrist and a cold voice sounded in her ear. You dare to touch my people in front of me. It seems that the vice president has lived a peaceful life for too long, so you want to play something exciting. His 5 fingers suddenly tightened their grip. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Lu Shuiyu's ice-cold face suddenly turned pale and cold sweat broke out. The feeling of 5 fingers directly passing through her skin and stabbing into the depths of her bones was simply excruciating. But Lu Shuiyu refused to admit defeat in front of Yiqing Luo. He didn't want to make a sound as he endured the pain in his arm. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her vision swept past those terrified and uneasy female students who were standing by the side. He remembered. Weren't these the female students who had been pestering and flattering Lu Shuiyu? When she first came to the dormitory, these students even deliberately caused trouble for her. It was no wonder that Lu Shuiyu was being sarcastic. She sneered as her vision slowly fell onto Lu Shuiyu's pale face, which was enduring silently. Seeing the vicious sneer on Lu Shuiyu's lips, Yiqing Luo's lips twitched coldly. His 5 fingers tightened his grip once again. A few pushing waves and a few cracking sounds were heard. Chapter 962. Lu Shuiyu was flung aside as she staggered backwards several steps. Those few female students subconsciously supported her. Lu Shuiyu's right arm hung limply, and the moment she moved slightly, she felt a piercing pain. Her face, which had turned pale from the pain, surfaced a cold smile. Yiqing Luo, your unhappiness is about to come. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she didn't think much of it. Oh? Really? Then touch your hand and see. Who's the one who's going to be unhappy? Lu Shuiyu's smile froze as she stretched out her hand to touch her arm. The moment she touched it, it was a piercing pain. She bore with it as her 5 fingers clasped onto the joints of her arm. It wasn't broken. Moreover, she couldn't feel any signs of injury. As though the crack sound earlier was just an illusion. But her hand was still in pain. The pain was unbearable. What did you do to me? Lu Shuiyu's aloof face was filled with viciousness. I didn't do anything. You and I are both women, so what can I do to you? Yiqing Luo's words, which were filled with hidden meanings, floated out casually. Those 5 female students understood the hidden meaning in her words as their faces flushed red. Lu Shuiyu's face turned green and red as she gritted her teeth and stared at the people behind her, still not supporting me to leave. She didn't believe that her arm was completely fine. The students took a look at Lu Shuiyu, and in the end, under Lu Shuiyu's authority, they supported her to leave. Before they left, Lu Shuiyu's chilly voice came out from the slits of her teeth. Yiqing Luo, you won't be so lucky forever. Looking at Lu Shuiyu, who was like a defeated rooster as she left dejectedly, Lu Xiaoyu laughed out unkindly. Qing Luo, did you see her expression? She looked as though she was covered with a pile of sh*t. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. From the moment she decided to place the world group in front of everyone, deciding to shine brightly, she had no intention of enduring silently. Since Lu Shuiyu insisted on bumping into the gun, she naturally wouldn't miss this chance. After all, Lu Shuiyu was the faculty council's vice president. The news of him injuring Lu Shuiyu would soon spread throughout the academy. But Lu Xiaoyu smiled and suddenly thought of something. Her face darkened. If this matter is spread out and Lu Shuiyu wants to hold you responsible, wouldn't you be breaking the rules? Yiqing Luo gave an elegant smile as she didn't mind. Before you pursue responsibility, you have to produce evidence. Lu Shuiyu endured the pain in her arm. She didn't want to lose face as the vice president in front of the female students. There was another purpose. That was to make use of this matter to accuse Yiqing Luo of harming her classmates. How would Yiqing Luo give Lu Shuiyu this chance? You want to pursue the matter? Bring out the evidence. Lu Xiaoyu blinked her bright eyes as if she had understood something. Lu Shuiyu's arm will continue to hurt for 2 to 3 days, but I can't find anything wrong with it. Pfft. Lu Xiaoyu doubled over in laughter. This move was simply too despicable. However, it was really satisfying. As expected, within 1 hour, the matter of Yiqing Luo and Lu Shuiyu's conflict had spread throughout the entire courtyard. But unfortunately, there wasn't any problem with Lu Shuiyu's arm. Yun Xiang had always stood on Lu Shuiyu's side, and when he heard about this, he naturally checked on it secretly. But the 5 students present were all vague about it. Chapter 963. Since the student had already said so, Lu Shuiyu was destined to swallow this loss forcefully. Just as Lu Shuiyu was thinking of ways to take revenge on Yiqing Luo. But there was news of Yiqing Luo being invited by the young chief of the Alchemist Guild to attend the alchemist competition. This news was not publicized by the academy. The director would naturally not reject the personal invitation from the young chief of the Alchemist Guild. He only sent Yun Xiang to negotiate with Yiqing Luo and confirmed that she would report to the Alchemist Guild tomorrow. Lu Shuiyu got the news from Yun Xiang. Faculty Council, deep in the secret passage. Lu Shuiyu walked briskly. The expression on her face was different from the usual frosty look. There was a hint of joy. She pushed the door open and saw the green-robed man who was bending over the table to read the documents. The warmth in her eyes grew thicker. Her lips were also tainted with a smile. She slowly walked forward and said in a soft voice, "President, I am here." Xianmu slowly raised his head. His gentle eyes gazed at Lu Shuiyu elegantly. After a while, his gaze fell on her obviously unnatural arm which was hanging by her side. "Arm, is it still not healed?" "Oh, nothing." The gentle voice made Lu Shuiyu's heart tremble. That concerned tone made her want to sink into this gentleness. Xianmu slowly stood up. His green and white uniform was like a wave, rolling and sliding down. It made that gentle and elegant handsome face look even more refined. He walked closer to Lu Shuiyu and held her injured arm. "It has been 2 days, still not healed?" A strong masculine scent sprayed into her nose. Lu Shuiyu's icy cold face had long been dyed red. She stared at the man in front of her in a daze, staring at his gentle eyes. His touch made Lu Shuiyu's delicate body tremble slightly. Immediately, a burst of pain came from her right arm. But Lu Shuiyu seemed to feel nothing. She just stared at Xianmu in a daze. As long as Xianmu was this gentle to her. Even if it took her life, she would gladly endure it. "All right." Xianmu let go of her hand and slowly walked back to the wooden table. That scorching temperature suddenly disappeared. Lu Shuiyu opened her mouth and wanted to stop Xianmu. But looking at his watery smile, she couldn't take the initiative to speak. Her right arm was fixed by Xianmu. However, she felt a heavy sense of loss in her heart because of his approach and departure. "Tell me, what did you find out?" Xianmu did not seem to notice the affection in her eyes. He just lowered his head and continued to stare at the documents on the table. Lu Shuiyu regained her senses and immediately put on a stern look. "I heard from Elder Yun Xiang that Yiqing Luo will leave the academy tomorrow and head over to the Alchemist Guild." Xianmu did not like women who mixed public and private affairs. So when it came to matters of duty, she would try her best to suppress her feelings towards Xianmu and be his most important and capable assistant. Xianmu raised his eyelids. "You are leaving the school tomorrow?" "Yes, the alchemist competition will last for 2 days. You must arrive at the Alchemist Union 1 day in advance to obtain the competition qualification certificate." Lu Shuiyu didn't know what was the purpose of Xianmu asking her to find out about Yiqing Luo's whereabouts. But she would obey Xianmu's orders unconditionally. Chapter 964. "President, is there a problem?" Lu Shuiyu asked puzzledly when she heard Xianmu's low murmur. Xianmu chuckled softly like the spring breeze caressing the face and blooming flowers. "No problem, just a little surprised. Classmate Yi is indeed a legendary student." Lu Shuiyu's face stiffened. Hearing Xianmu's praise of Yiqing Luo, it made her very uncomfortable. To be able to get the artifact, subdue the supreme dragon and one of the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger. And also know the art of alchemy. If she could join the faculty council, it would definitely be beneficial to the development of the faculty council. Xianmu's smile grew wider, as if mentioning Yiqing Luo's name made him very happy. This smile, however, made Lu Shuiyu's heart dull pain. She did not want Xianmu to show the slightest affection and appreciation to any woman. Xianmu belonged to her. He belonged to her alone. "All right, you can leave first." Xianmu's slender fingers gently brushed his thin lips, revealing a meaningful smile. Immediately he dismissed Lu Shuiyu. Lu Shuiyu was stunned. The blood in her body seemed to solidify. A woman's intuition told her that Xianmu was interested in Yiqing Luo. No. She would not allow anyone to touch her president. Lu Shuiyu clenched her fists, but her face was expressionless as she bowed and turned to leave. When Lu Shuiyu's figure left the room, Xi Yanmu, who had a gentle smile on his face, was no longer smiling. What replaced it was an extremely strong hostility. That gentle face emerged a few traces of murderous intent. He got up and bowed respectfully to somewhere behind him. Lord Holy Technique Yiqing Luo will set off tomorrow to the Alchemist Guild. The next day, while the students were in class, Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy. The Mu brothers were waiting at the door. When they saw Yiqing Luo coming out, they came forward. 2 horses and a carriage. These two were very considerate. Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy, completed the task and left without looking back. Are you ready? Mu Zifan looked at her. He didn't sense any alchemy equipment on her body. Yiqing Luo smiled. There's no need to specially prepare anything. Isn't an alchemist's competition particular about fairness? I believe you all wouldn't allow alchemists to bring along their own cauldrons to compete, right? Mu Zifan laughed out loud. So you know the rules. It is indeed so. The alchemists participating in the competition must use the medicinal cauldrons prepared by the Alchemy Union. That was a given. If an alchemist was allowed to have their own medicine cauldron, it would be unfair to many alchemists. Of course, the success rate of alchemy was closely related to the medicinal cauldron. Mu Zifan handed over a package in his hand. These are some pastries. If you get hungry on the road, you can eat them to fill your stomach. The minute Yiqing Luo received it, she smelled the fragrance of the pastries. She smiled. Thank you. Let's go. If we don't hurry, it won't be good if we're late. Mu Zifei urged, lifting the curtain. If there's anything, we can talk on the road. It was indeed getting late. From the Heavenly Academy to the Alchemy Union, it would take at least 12 to 14 hours of journey. Once they arrived at the Alchemy Union, they still had to collect the qualification certificate. Yiqing Luo turned her head and took a look at the magnificent palace-like academy. In her mind, there seemed to be an image of a man dressed in a purple robe with peerless elegance. Knowing that she was leaving the academy today, he still didn't rush back? Or was he so busy that he didn't know that she was leaving the academy today? After a long while, she slowly retracted her gaze and turned back with a slight sense of loss. Chapter 965. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. A low husky voice floated down from above her head. Why waiting anxiously? Who are you waiting for? The familiar sandalwood fragrance seeped into her nose. The man's warm embrace made a certain part of her heart feel as if it had been stabbed by a deep evil thing. Ah, Xian. He was really here. I'm waiting for you. Yiqing Luo replied honestly without any shyness. The arms around her waist tightened. The man's low husky voice, because of the young lady's honest words, had a gentle expression and joy in his eyes. Not willing to leave me for even a moment? Yiqing Luo turned around and her petite body went into his arms. Her eyes were crystal clear without any impurities. Ever since the holidays ended and she came to Heavenly Academy, this man had left without saying goodbye. Yiqing Luo knew that his imperial palace's matters had not been settled. He rushed over to King Ling's tomb because he sensed that she was in danger. Especially now that the dark forces had invaded Nirvana realm, he needed the first imperial palace to step in. She suppressed the urge to meet Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian had his own matters to attend to. He had said it before. Zhou Xian could not possibly stay by her side. She was very clear about this point. So during this period of time she had put all her heart into the pill refining room. Following Ghost Doctor to continue learning pill refining skills. Right now the most important thing was not romance, but to cure Xiao Yi of the poison. She had to get first place in the alchemist competition. Because of this, a total of 4 days. She had not even met Zhou Xian once. In the end he still came. She hugged his waist, absorbing his unique aura. Yiqing Luo felt a sense of satisfaction, flowing from the bottom of her heart. You have plenty of time to be mushy on the way, now get on the carriage. Mu Zifei's teasing voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo suddenly opened her eyes and raised her head from Zhou Xian's arms. Seeing Zhou Xian, she had forgotten where she was and what she was going to do. Seeing Mu Zifei winking at her, Yiqing Luo's face flushed red instantly. She abruptly pushed Zhou Xian's chest, lifted the curtains and squeezed in. Outside the carriage, Mu Zifei's laughter was heard. Zhou Xian's lips curled slightly, as his eyes were filled with unconcealable gentleness. The purple robe was like a cloud sweeping past the eyes of the Mu brothers. A mellow voice floated into the ears of the Mu brothers. "Thank you for taking care of little Luo." The Mu brothers were stunned. Regaining his senses, Zhou Xian had already entered the carriage in a flash. If an ordinary person were to express his gratitude, it might not even be worth mentioning. But, if it was placed on Zhou Xian, the overlord, the significance of that was extraordinary. Who was Dizun? The palace lord of the #1 imperial palace, a man who was known as a legend. High and mighty, incomparably noble. Even if the Alchemist Guild's alliance chief personally invited Zhou Xian might not give face to the alliance chief. But this man did it for a woman. Thank them. This also indicated that Zhou Xian had already remembered them from the bottom of his heart. He would definitely repay them at the right time. It could be seen that Zhou Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Moreover, their love was extremely deep. The night was deep. The Mu brothers stopped their horses and prepared to rest for a while in this forest. The two horses were tired after running for a day. Moreover, Yiqing Luo was a woman after all. After being jolted on the carriage for such a long time, it was indeed time for her to rest. They hunted some wild game and ate some pastries. Chapter 966. Perhaps it was because she was worried about Yan Xiaoyi. Even in the carriage, nestled in Zhou Xian's arms, she didn't feel sleepy at all. She then quietly got up and exited the carriage. She replaced Mu Zifan on night watch. After pushing for a while, seeing Yiqing Luo's insistence, he said that he would wake up 2 hours later to continue night watch. Yiqing Luo waved her hand as she flipped over and leapt onto a thick and sturdy tree. Sitting against the wind, she gazed at the bright moon in the sky. In her mind, everything that had happened recently was rearranged from the beginning to the end. She was also sorting out the dark forces and the motive of that king of darkness. She was also guessing how many people around her had already been controlled by the dark forces. After thinking about it, she had no clue at all. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo's expression congealed as her ears twitched as though she heard something. Her eyes, which were fixated on the bright moon, flashed a chilly intent. Her fingers moved and the glower flame fan entered her palm. At this moment, her figure was as light as a feather as she leapt down from the big tree. She shot a glance at the both of them who were resting. In order not to disturb them, she could only end the battle quickly. Yiqing Luo's fingers moved and the glower flame fan opened up. A burst of profound qi broke out from her body and condensed on the glower flame fan. Facing the wind, it slashed out numerous sharp blades. A large patch of trees in front of her instantly fell. Yiqing Luo's figure swayed as she scurried to the end of the fallen tree. A bewitching red dress, under the moonlight, was like a blazing rose blooming in the dark night, emitting a suffocating, fatal charm. She had just stood still. From all directions, a bunch of assassins dressed in black and covered in black cloth appeared. 30 over people, the weapons in their hands sparkled under the moonlight, directly surrounding Yiqing Luo within. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as there wasn't a trace of panic on her face. "Yo, still playing encirclement?" Yiqing Luo sneered as she swept the glower flame fan. The bewitching red glow was as fast as lightning as it directly shot out a wind blade. Following that, numerous silver threads shot out from the top of the glower flame fan, directly entangling those 30 over assassins. The speed was so fast that those assassins didn't even have time to react before their necks were sliced off by a cold, slender thing. Wherever Yiqing Luo went, the assassins didn't even have time to cry out before they died. Blood splattered. Yiqing Luo was like a fairy dancing under the moonlight, flirtatious and amorous. It wouldn't take long to deal with these assassins. In just a moment, the 30 assassins were all taken care of. Just as she was about to turn around, a killer suddenly sprang out from the bushes beside her. The curved blade in his hand directly chopped towards Yiqing Luo's neck. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she bent her waist backwards and somersaulted sideways, trying to avoid the killer before settling him. Unexpectedly, when the killer saw her bending down to avoid the attack, he suddenly turned his hand and cut his own neck. This action made Yiqing Luo extremely stunned. The hot blood of the assassin splashed onto the ground. No matter how fast Yiqing Luo's reaction was to swiftly evade, she was still splashed with blood. The pungent smell of blood was extremely strong. Yiqing Luo swiftly retreated a few steps to avoid the killer's corpse falling down. He raised his hand and wiped the blood off his face. His pupils constricted. The thick smell of blood seemed to make one go berserk. Bright red blood stained her eyes. There seemed to be something spreading in her heart. It was a very subtle feeling and Yiqing Luo didn't catch it. Chapter 967. The sight of blood incessantly stimulated her heart. The thick stench of blood also pervaded Yiqing Luo. She pressed one hand to her heart and the other to her head, moaning in pain. Little Luo, Zhou Xian was jolted awake. The softness in his arms was long gone. Hearing the commotion outside, Zhou Xian quickly got up and followed the sound. He saw Yiqing Luo standing in the middle of the pool of blood. Zhou Xian's brows creased tightly as he looked at the young lady who was standing in the middle, not knowing if she was deep in thought or doing something as he stood there in a daze. He shouted a few times but there was no response from her. Zhou Xian's heart skipped a beat as he flew forward, his arm habitually circling around her slender waist. Little Luo, what's wrong? What happened? As soon as he finished speaking, the girl in his arms actually raised the glowing flame fan and stabbed it towards his heart. Zhou Xian sensed something amiss and swiftly retreated. Yiqing Luo stabbed empty air and slowly withdrew her hand. Little Luo, Zhou Xian's expression sunk slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo worriedly. Her beautiful face was filled with a cold light. Her pink lips were slightly pursed, revealing a gloomy and terrifying sneer, as though she was ridiculing Zhou Xian. This face was indeed Yiqing Luo's face. This body was indeed Yiqing Luo's body. Even the way she played with the glower flame fan and squinted her eyes was no different from Yiqing Luo. However, the look in her eyes made one's heart tremble. What was going on? Why did Yiqing Luo suddenly become like this? Not allowing Zhou Xian to ponder further. Yiqing Luo's hand, which was fiddling with the glower flame fan, had already speedily opened up the feather fan, directly attacking towards his direction. The wind blade, which was glowing with red profound light, struck towards Zhou Xian. The majestic and powerful profound qi did not have the slightest bit of mercy. Zhou Xian swiftly retreated half a step and saw that the ground where he was standing earlier had several deep fissures. The ground cracked and the mountains shook. His expression was cold and his brows were tightly knitted. Lil Luo was really merciless towards him. Her charming eyes were filled with a strong killing intent. The familiar face was filled with madness and bloodlust. Lil Luo, Zhou Xian called out Yiqing Luo's name sharply. However, her next beam of mysterious light had already attacked. Kill you. A low murmur came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth. Her eyes were empty, but they were filled with a strong gloomy coldness. She leaped up into the air and slashed out with profound energy that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. The piercing aura was swift and fierce, and it swept over from all directions. Zhou Xian had no choice but to form a barrier to defend himself. He could not attack Lil Luo'er and could only dodge Lil Air's attacks. The current Lil Luo'er was obviously being controlled by something. It was exactly the same as a few days ago when Long Yunzhan was being controlled by the profound Yin energy. Could it be, was it the work of the dark forces again? When did the dark forces make their move? How did he do it? All these could only be known after Yiqing Luo was awakened. Zhou Xian's brows creased tightly as he dodged and evaded, not forgetting to call out Yiqing Luo's name. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as Yiqing Luo's leaping body spun and attacked downwards. This time round, Zhou Xian didn't dodge. He speedily locked Yiqing Luo's arms as he stretched out his hand to encircle her waist. Lil Luo, calm down a little. He unleashed a powerful profound qi. No matter how Yiqing Luo struggled, she was unable to break free from Zhou Xian's restraint. Towards Zhou Xian's call, Yiqing Luo seemed as though she couldn't hear it at all. Her scarlet eyes were filled with murderous intent. Chapter 968. Zhou Xian's eyes darkened as he released her arm and swiftly retreated. He wasn't afraid that Yiqing Luo would hurt him. But he wasn't willing to see Yiqing Luo using the method of hurting herself to hurt him. Yiqing Luo grinned and smiled without any warmth. His nimble figure followed closely behind. The devouring flame fan at his fingertips stirred up a gust of wind. Her attack came straight at him once again. As Zhou Xian was dodging, he turned his head and saw the Mu brothers who were still in deep sleep. He became more and more vigilant. He and Yiqing Luo had created such a huge commotion, but the both of them were still in deep sleep. Looked like the matter of Yiqing Luo falling into the control was premeditated. She seemed to have noticed his gaze. Yiqing Luo's gaze followed closely and looked over. The corners of her lips curled into a strange arc as Yiqing Luo leapt into the air and stretched her body. The red-clothed girl stood in front of the Mu brothers in the blink of an eye. Zhou Xian's brows were icy cold as he berated in a low voice, "Lil Luo, you want to kill the Mu brothers? Stop." At this moment Zhou Xian was completely certain. The matter of Yiqing Luo being possessed absolutely had something to do with the dark forces. Wasn't playing with people's emotions the most common trick of the dark forces? Just like the previous Long Yunzhan, controlling Long Yunzhan to assassinate Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo died when Long Yunzhan regained consciousness, he would definitely commit suicide to accompany her. Whereas if Yiqing Luo killed Long Yunzhan in order to survive, that was to kill his own brother with his own hands. But now she controlled Yiqing Luo to kill him and the Mu brothers. If Yiqing Luo really hurt the Mu brothers, when she woke up she would definitely be filled with guilt. In this life he would never be able to walk out of this guilt. These methods were all meant to toy with one's heart and emotions in the palm of one's hand. Zhou Xian could not allow Yiqing Luo to do something that she would regret for the rest of her life. His figure was as swift as lightning as he sped towards Yiqing Luo's direction in an attempt to stop her. Yiqing Luo had already slid out the glower flame fan. The dagger on the fan handle under the moonlight emitted a cold luster. Raising the dagger high, he expressionlessly plunged it down towards Mu Zifei. A soft sound rang out. Yiqing Luo's raised dagger froze on the spot. His whole body suddenly stiffened. Zhou Xian's eyes lit up with delight as he stretched out his hand to hold her arm, which was holding onto the glower flame fan. "Lil Luo." But when his vision met with Yiqing Luo's emotionless eyes, his joyful words were deflated back. He was still obsessed with lust. "That kid from the Imperial Palace. Why are you still in a daze? Quickly let little Luo sleep. She'll be fine when she wakes up." Suddenly an unfamiliar voice spoke in a commanding tone. The sudden voice made Zhou Xian raise his eyebrows in vigilance as a strong, imposing manner spread out from his body. "You don't need to care about my identity. Make Luo girl fall asleep immediately. My strength is limited and I can't suppress the profound yin qi in her body." The voice urged him again. She could hear the anxiety in his tone and also heard the intimate way he called out to Yiqing Luo. Zhou Xian looked at Yiqing Luo, who was trembling all over, as though she was trying to struggle free from something. Gritting his teeth, he still raised his hand and hit the sleeping acupoint on Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo's body softened as she fell into his arms. Gazing at the young lady whose eyes were tightly shut, Zhou Xian's eyes deepened. He carried her up and walked directly into the carriage. Chapter 969. There was no response for a long time. Zhou Xian's deep black eyes flashed, his eyes were filled with ice, and his perception was raised to the maximum. The old voice sighed faintly and said, "Kid from the Imperial Palace, can't you just let this old man keep a secret?" Zhou Xian's pupils congealed as he noticed the direction of the sound. It was coming from Yiqing Luo. His brows furrowed. "You're Lil Luoers. You can say that I am your master." Old man Song knew very well that there was no way to hide it from Zhou Xian and could only tell the truth. "But that lass often calls me Old Man Song." Zhou Xian was sharp and his gaze was like a torch, fixed on Yiqing Luo's wrist. He held Yiqing Luo's wrist as he lifted up his wide sleeves. Sure enough, he saw that the bracelet on her wrist was faintly flashing with red light. "You are the artifact spirit of the Azure Dew bracelet?" Zhou Xian gently placed Yiqing Luo's wrist into the thin blanket. The doubts in his heart had been answered. Old Song was slightly startled. "You know about the Azure Dew bracelet?" "This exalted one naturally understands." Zhou Xian replied apathetically. "This lord is also aware of the situation of Lil Luo's body, and also knows that profound jade heart in her body." Zhou Xian. Old man Song's voice suddenly became serious, interrupting his words. He also immediately changed the way he addressed him. Old man Song's voice was very heavy. You already knew everything. Why didn't you mention it to little girl Luo? His tone was interrogative. He was questioning Zhou Xian from Yiqing Luo's point of view. Yiqing Luo's identity as well as the profound jade heart in her body. It was all a secret. A secret that could not be made public. Zhou Xian knew everything about her, then why did you get close to the Luo girl? Old man Song's voice was filled with anger. In Old man Song's heart he had treated Yiqing Luo as his own disciple, his own granddaughter. He had been observing Yiqing Luo and Zhou Xian's relationship along the way. He assumed that Zhou Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Because of this he didn't intentionally conceal his identity today. But if Zhou Xian had an ulterior motive for getting close to Yiqing Luo, then there was no difference between him and that king of darkness who tried to make a move on Yiqing Luo. He should be even more terrifying than the king of darkness. If everything that Zhou Xian had done was because he had a motive that was deceiving Yiqing Luo's feelings. She could hear the heaviness in Old Man Song's tone, as well as his concern for Yiqing Luo as though he was an elder. Zhou Xian's enmity towards him had gradually subsided. He leaned against the cushion behind him, bent his knees and rested one hand on his knee in a lazy posture. Yes, I admit from the beginning when I was interested in Lil Luo, it was indeed her body that was different from normal people that attracted me. He was calm and his tone was serious. His deep and quiet eyes were bright without a trace of falsehood. So, you and Luo you are together only because she's different from normal people? Old man Song's tone clearly revealed some anger. Zhou Xian had yet to reply. His chest was grasped by a small hand. The girl nestled in the thin quilt gazed at his face with her hazy eyes. Her fair little hand was tightly gripping his clothes. Although she had just woken up from her dreams, but her consciousness was still clear. You have an ulterior motive for being together with me? Zhou Xian frowned and kept silent for a moment, but gave an irrelevant answer. Is it that old man who released your sleep acupoint? Chapter 970. Her hazy and sleepy eyes at this moment became clear and bright. Zhou Xian drooped his eyes, curled his rosy lips coldly, his eyes seemed to be swirling with whirlpools, unable to see the deep meaning in it. What do you think? That little hand that was tugging at his clothes slowly slid down. The young lady's eyelashes drooped, each and every one of her thick and curly eyelashes trembled slightly. He couldn't read her emotions. She seemed to be depressed but also seemed emotionless. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes. This woman's trust in him was this little? Seeing that she didn't speak for a long time, Zhou Xian's brows revealed a trace of helplessness. In the end he decided not to tease her anymore. Just as he was about to open his mouth to explain, the young lady's little head suddenly raised up. The black and white distinct eyes stared deeply at his peerless face. Her eyes revealed a trace of determination. The petite body directly crashed into Zhou Xian's arms. Soft arms tightly wrapped around his neck. Ah Xian, it's not that I don't trust you nor do I blame you, she murmured in his ear. When she just woke up from her coma, the first sentence she heard was Old Man Song questioning Zhou Xian. And Zhou Xian's answer made her brain not too clear for a moment. Yiqing Luo leaned her head into Zhou Xian's arms, deeply inhaling his familiar sandalwood scent. From the beginning, if I hadn't aroused your interest, you wouldn't have saved me. From the beginning, if I didn't have what you wanted, you wouldn't have appeared in front of me again and again, circling around me. From the beginning, none of us knew that we would fall in love with each other. Yiqing Luo murmured softly, her voice was filled with tenderness and honey, totally different from the usual arrogance. Zhou Xian opened his mouth to explain but swallowed it back. Yiqing Luo propped herself up, looked up at him. From the beginning, didn't I use the knife to threaten you? I am willing to get in touch with you. Isn't it also to borrow your strength to make use of your ability? The more she said, the calmer Yiqing Luo was. The smile on her lips gradually deepened. From the beginning, none of us knew what would happen next. What's more, it's because I want to make use of you because you are interested in me, isn't it? A soft sigh came from above. Xian pinched her lower jaw and his shimmering peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at her. Lil Luo, you've already said everything, what do you want me to say? Then listen to me obediently, that'll do. Yiqing Luo raised her brows not to be outdone, stretched out her hand and tugged his collar. The man's body instantly fell over. Yiqing Luo took the initiative to kiss his lips. When their lips met, Yiqing Luo's hand went on to wrap around his neck. Finally she whispered, Xian, I love you. Love? Xian's action of biting her lips paused as his body froze. His mind was filled with the 3 words which Yiqing Luo had said earlier. He said she loved him. This was the first time Yiqing Luo had expressed her feelings so boldly. Xian's eyes were filled with ecstasy and filled with gentleness. Yiqing Luo was still waiting for his reply. The next moment her body was pushed onto the carriage and the man's burning hot body covered hers. Xian's broad palm caressed Yiqing Luo's beautiful female body as a fierce kiss landed on her brows, face. Finally he fiercely clamped her lips. His breathing became hotter. Chapter 971. Cough cough cough. Cough cough cough. A hurried and awkward cough suddenly rang out. Yiqing Luo, who was pushing Xian's chest, stiffened. Xian, who was lying on top of her body and continuously moving his hands up and down, paused. Following that, Yiqing Luo used all her strength and pushed Xian off her body. Yiqing Luo had not expected that her one sentence of confession would actually cause Xian to suddenly burst out in rage. She almost couldn't handle it. Smelly old man. Xian's face was ashen as he gritted his teeth and spat out these 3 words. No man would be able to tolerate being disturbed at such a time. He even had the thought of destroying Old Man Tsong. Old Man Tsong coughed even more violently. This time it was real. He was frightened. Ever since he had specially unlocked Yiqing Luo's sleeping acupoint, allowing her to witness Xian's real face, he had shut off his sight and hearing, leaving the space for the couple. However, after waiting for a long time, the 2 of them did not seem to have any intention of calling out to him. Old Man Tsong's heart was filled with anxiety. He stealthily turned on his audio and video to see what was going on. Who knew he was young and full of vigor? He was still in the carriage and there were 2 people sleeping outside. The 2 of them had deep feelings for each other. He should be thankful that he had activated his hearing early enough to stop it. You 2 are so lovey-dovey. You can be as mushy as you want. But looking at the current situation, Xian, don't tell me you don't want to find out what's going on with Las Luo? If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo's body had mysteriously appeared profound yin qi, which was simply too unexpected, Old Man Tsong wouldn't have disturbed them at this timing. This concerned Yiqing Luo's health. Old Man Tsong couldn't wait any longer. Mentioning this point, Xian's sunken face gradually turned grave as his eyes sunk. Right, what exactly is going on? Las. Old Man Tsong asked Yiqing Luo, when did you come into contact with the dark forces? Why did I sense the mysterious yin qi in your body just now? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes in confusion. Me? Mysterious yin qi? You don't remember? Xian held Yiqing Luo's little hand. Yiqing Luo was at a loss. He did not understand the meaning behind Old Man Tsong and Xian's words. Could it be that she had forgotten something? Xian did not intend to hide it from her. This matter must be made known to Yiqing Luo. Only by letting Yiqing Luo be clear of her current physical condition, would she be able to find out how the profound yin qi seeped into her body. After listening to Xian's description of what happened earlier, Yiqing Luo's eyes widened in astonishment. She was actually controlled by the profound yin qi just like Long Yunzhan. But she had not come into contact with the mysterious yin qi. Furthermore, she had a very strong sense towards the mysterious yin qi. Otherwise he wouldn't be so unafraid of Yiqing's moving and attacking profound yin qi. She didn't feel that her body was contaminated with the aura of the mysterious yin qi. Seeing Yiqing Luo's eyes filled with shock and disbelief, Xian's brows creased tightly. The people from the dark forces are really endless, they can use any methods. Old Man Tsong said, there's one more thing that's very strange. Right now little girl Luo doesn't have the slightest bit of mysterious yin qi in her body. It's as if it was purposely erased. Purposely erasing it? Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she was filled with puzzlement. When on earth did the mysterious yin qi invade her body? And she was still unable to detect the presence of the mysterious yin qi? When Long Yunzhan was awakened by her blood, his body still had that extremely dense mysterious yin qi. Chapter 972. Then will I still have a lust control? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly. Old man Tsang remained silent for a moment and said, Zhou Xian, that fellow should have sensed it. Zhou Xian frowned, his peach blossom eyes were filled with a chilling glint. He narrowed his eyes and restrained the chill in his eyes. When he opened his mouth to explain to Yiqing Luo, his tone was gentle. You don't forcibly release your profound qi, especially don't release profound qi higher than earth profound 4th grade. Stabilize at this boundary and you will be fine. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Last night when the killer attacked, she indeed released earth profound 4th grade profound qi. Her original intention was to test the power of this profound grade. Then, it seemed that a killer deliberately committed suicide in front of her. He wanted to use his blood to stimulate the profound yin qi in her body? And my emotional instability, was it because of the profound yin qi in my body? Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something. Zhou Xian nodded solemnly. That's possible. Yiqing Luo's heart was in a state of utter disbelief. She had finally found the profound jade heart, obtained the divine weapon and advanced to the profound grade. But she didn't expect that she was unable to consume the power of the earth profound grade. The more power she consumed, the more her emotions would be controlled by the profound yin qi. Wouldn't this make her become a max-level big boss but had to become a 10th-level small boss to be abused by others? Heavens! Wasn't God playing with her a little too much? Then, will I lose consciousness and attack Xian and my companions again? After the battle with Long Yunzhan, Yiqing Luo understood this feeling very well. Unable to attack the other party. But she couldn't bear for the other party to hurt her. I will be by your side, I will find out the reason. Zhou Xian took her into his arms and pressed her head against his chest. His peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly, a biting cold murderous intent flashed past. Luo, wait for me, I will think of a way. The heartbeat from her chest and the man's warm embrace made Yiqing Luo's heart gradually settle down. She raised her lips and smiled. Okay, I'll wait for you. Old man Tsang saw that both of them were in a good mood and the matter had already been clarified, so he didn't disturb them any further. He shut off his hearing and went to investigate why Yiqing Luo was contaminated with the profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo shut her eyes as she deeply absorbed his aura, his taste, his everything. As long as he could remember him completely. Next time if he really controlled his mind again, thinking of Zhou Xian, would she sober up? The Alchemy Union was located not far from one of the 4 continents. When Yiqing Luo and the rest arrived, it was noon on the 2nd day. Walking out of the carriage, Yiqing Luo discovered that the Alchemist Guild could be described as a city. It was a city for alchemists to live in. The passers-by were all alchemists dressed in green alchemy robes. Every alchemist wearing a green alchemist robe would have a badge that represented their rank pasted on their chest. This badge was issued by the Alchemy Union to prove one's alchemy level and ability. On both sides of the streets in the city, there were no other miscellaneous items. It was all medicinal herbs or various grades of pills. Even the air was filled with a thick fragrance of medicinal herbs. After Mu Zifan arrived at the city, he was summoned by the guards at the entrance. Chapter 973. Mu Zifan left first. Mu Zifei led the 2 of them to the inn first. They had already booked a room at the inn, but they didn't know that Zhou Xian would accompany them. Right now it was the alchemist competition and the entire alchemy city was full. Then, why don't we go to the Mu family's courtyard there? Before he finished speaking, Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes. I'll share a room with Xian, it's all right. During the period when the academy had just started its term, Zhou Xian would come knocking on her door every night and conveniently occupy her bed. They were already used to sharing the same bed. Since Yiqing Luo didn't mind, Mu Zifei naturally couldn't say anything. After leaving the things in the inn room, Mu Zifei brought Yiqing Luo to the Alchemy Guild to register and obtain the qualification certificate for the competition. After a day's journey, tomorrow is the competition. You must rest well tonight and recuperate your profound heart jade to its best state to face the various competitions tomorrow. After Mu Zifei finished speaking, he left to give Yiqing Luo enough time to rest. Yiqing Luo didn't sleep well last night and was indeed tired. The venue for the alchemist competition was set at the largest alchemy plaza in Alchemy City. At this time, the plaza was surrounded by many onlookers. When Yiqing Luo woke up early in the morning, Zhou Xian was no longer by her side. She could only follow Mu Zifei to the plaza to register. However, he was stunned by the sight of the sea of people. Immediately she frowned slightly. The biggest taboo in alchemy was to be disturbed. With so many commoners present, the participating alchemists wouldn't be able to refine pills in peace. When refining pills, there will be an enchantment around to prevent other commoners or alchemists from obstructing the alchemist's temperament. Mu Zifei explained. Yiqing Luo nodded. This was more like it. In the middle of the plaza stood a high platform. There were 6 white-bearded old men sitting on the high platform. They all had the demeanor of immortals. Mu Zifei sat in the middle of the old men and spoke a few words to them from time to time. Obviously, they were the judges for this competition. Seeing Mu Zifei come, the other 6 old men naturally recognized him and called him over. Mu Zifei urged Yiqing Luo, "Go in and register first, find your position and wait for the first competition." Yiqing Luo followed the number on the certificate and found her position. She was in a corner of the square, and on her stone table were some medicine refining equipment, all of which had been destroyed. She was in an extremely sorry state. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. How could the Alchemy Union make such a careless mistake? Just as she was about to request Mu Zifei to change a set of equipment, Yiqing Luo acutely heard the whispers of several participating alchemists beside her. She glanced over from the corner of her eyes. Sure enough, she discovered that a few alchemists were huddled together and looking in her direction, their eyes full of ridicule. In other words, her position was not the fault of the Alchemist Guild. Could it be that the other alchemists were doing it on purpose? It seemed like it was her first time coming to Alchemy City. Why did these alchemists start to target her? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk slightly as she raised her eyes and stared fixedly at those alchemists who were still sniggering. Those few alchemists seemed as though they had not expected Yiqing Luo to have no fear at all, directly telling that it was done by them as they were all stunned. But they had nothing to fear. Instead, he raised his eyebrows provocatively at Yiqing Luo, as though he was ridiculing her. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk even more. She had never been someone who was easy to provoke. Being directly stepped on in the face by others, she also did not have the habit of swallowing insults. Chapter 974. Mississippi, a clear voice suddenly came from behind. "Let's change seats, I'll give my seat to you." Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused as she turned around. She saw a young man dressed in a green alchemist robe looking at her with a face full of smiles. The young man looked slightly immature, about 16 or 17 years old, his face stained with dirt. But even so, Yiqing Luo could see the young man's delicate features and handsome eyebrows. That pair of clear bright eyes, she could tell that he was a rather silly and easy to bully. Sure enough, that young man had already walked forward and dragged Yiqing Luo towards his seat. It was just beside Yiqing Luo's seat. "They destroyed your seat because they don't want you to participate in the competition." The young man muttered, "Don't look for them, they definitely won't admit it. If this goes to the chief, you'll be in trouble." Yiqing Luo allowed him to pull her and sat down on his wooden chair. She raised her brows. "I have no enmity with them, why don't they want me to participate?" Because they said that you seduced the young chief and his brother and sold your body in order to win the championship." The young man stuttered as if he was very embarrassed. Yiqing Luo suddenly understood. She finally understood the reason why these alchemists targeted her. Just because she and Mu Zifei were close? They have the advantage in numbers. Even if you get the chief to speak up, you'll be the one to suffer in the end. The young man scratched his messy hair as he stared at Yiqing Luo, his cheeks flushed. "You're so beautiful, I don't want you to be bullied." Indeed a fool. If it was in normal times, Yiqing Luo would be too lazy to bother with such a person. But she felt that this young man was so silly that he was a little cute. He said a lot of things, but Yiqing Luo didn't make a sound. The young man seemed to feel that he was too talkative as he scratched his head in embarrassment and walked over to Yiqing Luo's stone table. So, sorry for disturbing you. What's your name? Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to him. The young man blinked his clear eyes and revealed a smile. My name is Bei Ming Che. Bei Ming Che? Bei Ming family again? Look, that vixen can't stay idle again and seduced other men. Isn't that North Sea trash? What's the use of seducing a good-for-nothing? Perhaps his tone is unique? The few alchemists huddled together, gossiping, and then burst into laughter. His tone was filled with disdain. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter as she shot a glance at those talkative alchemists with an unhappy expression. Sorry. Bai Ming Che apologized again, lowered his head and said, because of me they also scolded you. These people only know how to talk about right and wrong. It's useless to have them. Yiqing Luo indifferently glanced at him. You, whether you are a waste or not, it's not up to them to decide, but you yourself, whether you are one or not. Bai Ming Che was stunned, not expecting Yiqing Luo to say such words. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about him as she got up directly and walked towards her own seat. If this is broken, there's no way to compete. It's better if I shut up. Yiqing Luo said indifferently, go back. Bai Ming Che moved his mouth, but on seeing her cold expression, he could only hang his head dejectedly and returned to his seat. So what if the stone table was broken? Later on during the competition she would just need another set of alchemy equipment. During the competition she would not pursue this matter for now. Chapter 975. Yiqing Luo kept a low profile with the Alchemist Guild, as she exchanged a new set of alchemy equipment. As for the damaged stone table to Yiqing Luo, it didn't matter at all. The person in charge of the alchemist competition, Elder Wu Tao, only politely requested to change the equipment for the competition when he saw this young lady who had a close relationship with the young alliance master and his brother. As for other matters he did not mention a single word. Wu Tao had a good impression of her. Those open strife and veiled strife between alchemists, they had seen too much. Especially for someone like Yiqing Luo who was an enviable existence. Naturally he would be pushed aside by the other alchemists. Naturally he would not interfere in this matter if he could. Yiqing Luo brought along the refining tools and returned to her own position. The pharmacist sneered at him again. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her lips curled into a chilly arc. Go ahead, go ahead. After a while there would be no chance for him to speak. Clang, clang, clang. The bell signaling the start of the competition had already rung. All the alchemists quickly returned to their positions. On the high platform, Mu Fan gave a speech according to the competition procedure. Then he got someone to bring the prizes of the champion to the high platform and place them there to motivate the various alchemists. Yiqing Luo knew that this was a segment that Mu Fan had specially arranged in order to confirm whether the Light Spirit Immortal Herb was among the prizes. When she saw the Light Spirit Immortal Grass being placed on the table, Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up slightly. There were indeed spiritual immortal herbs. When the prizes were placed on the table one by one, the alchemists let out exclamations of joy. They stared at the prizes in a daze, wishing they could take them all home. Bai Ming Che looked at the girl beside him in confusion. The expression on her face was too calm. It was as if these rewards were insignificant to her. Thinking of her indifference towards him just now, Bai Ming Che rubbed his nose and withdrew his gaze. Clang, clang, clang. After Mu Fan finished speaking, the second bell rang. This was the bell that signified the beginning of the competition. Standing on the high platform, Elder Wu Yao began to explain the rules. The competition was divided into 3 rounds. Today the first written test and the second pill refining competition would be held. Tomorrow was the 3rd round of the competition. The overall results of the 3 matches will be added together. The results of the competition would be announced in the afternoon. Clang, clang, clang. The 3rd city's bell rang, signaling the start of the competition. The first round of the competition tested an alchemist's answers to questions related to medicinal ingredients, alchemy techniques and various alchemy-related questions. To Yiqing Luo, who possessed the 100-pill refining pill and had read extensively at Ghost Doctor's place, this was totally not a problem. Carefree and relaxed. Yiqing Luo had already finished answering the test paper before half of the time had passed. When she put down the brush and ink, the surrounding commoners all looked at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. Those few alchemists looked at Yiqing Luo suspiciously. He thought that she couldn't answer the questions on the test paper and gave up. The second round of the competition was a pill refining competition. Whoever refined a pill of better quality and better effect would be able to get a higher score. The duration of the competition was 1.5 hours. In the first hour he could go to the medicinal herbs storehouse below the high platform at any time to take the medicinal herbs he needed. For the next 2 hours, no alchemist was allowed to leave the position where they were refining the pills. After the competition began, a large group of alchemists swarmed into the medicinal ingredient warehouse. Yiqing Luo wasn't anxious. On the side, Baimingche was not impatient either. Chapter 976. After an incense worth of time, more than half of the alchemists were out. Yiqing Luo then started to take action. Baimingche saw this and followed into the medicinal herbs storehouse. The medicinal herbs storehouse was in a mess. Because of the frenzied snatching, various medicinal herbs were mixed together. The high-quality medicinal herbs were all taken away by those alchemists. Yiqing Luo took the medicine basket and walked one round around the medicinal herbs storehouse. Half squinting her eyes, she went through the names of these medicinal herbs in her mind. Baimingche originally wanted to follow Yiqing Luo and see what medicinal herbs she took, he would follow suit. From the written examination, Baimingche felt that this beautiful lady was absolutely an incredible alchemist. At least she was a grandmaster-level alchemist. However, Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the medicinal herbs storehouse and didn't move. On seeing that there wasn't enough time, Baimingche could only give up his original plan and went to take the medicinal herbs first. Just at this moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly opened. Her slender palm flipped and a burst of strong, profound qi broke out from her body. The surrounding medicinal herbs followed the profound qi and rolled around. One by one, the medicinal herbs revolved around the profound qi and headed towards Yiqing Luo's medicine basket. But in a moment, Yiqing Luo's medicine basket was filled with medicinal herbs. She turned around and left the medicinal herbs storehouse directly. The remaining large bunch of alchemists were all dumbstruck. Who would choose medicinal herbs in such a way? No one saw clearly what medicinal herbs Yiqing Luo had chosen. When she returned to the competition grounds, Yiqing Luo discovered that near all the stone tables, there were 2 white sails raised. The stone table at the alchemist's seat was separated from the other stone tables. Yiqing Luo understood. There were many alchemists, but every alchemist's pill refining techniques and knowledge towards medicinal herbs were all different. Every alchemist had their own set of secret pill refining methods. These skills must not be secretly learnt by other alchemists. These 2 white sails were to protect the secrets between the alchemists. Yiqing Luo placed the medicine basket by the side and started to refine pills. Ghost Doctor said before that the most important thing in refining pills was to be calm and composed, without any distracting thoughts, using the purest heart fire to refine the purest pills. Hence she threw away all distracting thoughts. Winning the championship, obtaining the light spirit immortal grass, curing Yen Shaoyi, etc. All these thoughts were thrown to the back of her mind. The only thought in his mind was to refine the pill that he planned to refine. A high-grade level 5 medicinal pill. High-grade level 5 pills could only be refined by alchemists above the rank of Grand Apothecary.